This vehicle was reported stolen just this morning. Step away from the car.
You must have the wrong person. This is my car and I've done nothing wrong.
The flashing red and blue lights split the dusk like a wound. Governor Maya Ellison's fingers tightened on the steering wheel as she pulled to the curb, heartbeat hammering in the small silence before the storm. She'd just left a memorial for a slain teen, the cameras still flashing in her head, when the cruiser swerved behind her. License and registration. The officer's voice was raw, impatient. He hadn't even reached the window. She rolled it down. Evening, officer. Is there a reason? Don't talk. Step out of the car. Her throat went dry. Not again. She'd seen this scene replayed 100 times on news loops, but she hadn't expected to live it. She stepped out slowly, hands visible. The air smelled of hot asphalt and something bitter. The officer's flashlight beam sliced her face, tracing her skin like a crime. You steal this car. Her voice barely held. I'm the registered owner. You can check the plates. He laughed, sharp, condescending. Sure you are. What's next? You, the governor, too. Silence. The night swallowed his laughter. He saw her eyes, calm but flaring with something ancient. Not fear, not anger, but recognition. She said softly, Yes, I am. For a breath, the world stopped. The radio crackled behind him, some distant dispatch bleeding through the static. He froze, flashlight trembling, disbelief curdling into panic. Then his hand twitched toward his holster. The scream of sirens surged again, closer this time. Backup or chaos? She couldn't tell. Maya lifted her chin into the lights. Her reflection fractured across the patrol car's mirror. Somewhere behind the noise, she heard the words that would rewrite every headline in the country. Governor Ellison, hands where I can see them. Fade to black. The cruiser's lights painted the night in violent color: red, blue, pulsing against the polished black of Maya Ellison's sedan. She eased the car to the side, heart rate measured but rising. Years of public service had trained her face into serenity, even when her chest burned. The officer's boots hit pavement. Hard, deliberate steps. She could hear the weight in each one. He didn't approach like someone keeping the peace. He approached like someone claiming territory. Maya lowered the window. Good evening, officer. License and registration. His flashlight glared through the glass, slicing her reflection in two. Yes, of course. She reached slowly toward her bag. May I? Hands where I can see them. Her body froze. Sir, I'm just. Don't talk back. The words landed like a slap. Across the street, a couple paused mid-walk, eyes catching the glow of the lights. One lifted a phone. Maya drew a careful breath. My license is in my purse, on the passenger seat. Step out of the car. Officer, I haven't now. She unbuckled. Movements deliberate, small. Her heels clicked against asphalt as she rose into the full wash of light. The night smelled of exhaust and tension. He circled her car, fingers brushing the holster. You know why I pulled you over? No, officer. Speeding, failure to signal, reckless lane change. Pick one. She stared at him, steady. I didn't commit any of those infractions. He smirked. That right? He leaned closer. Where are you headed in such a hurry, ma'am? Home, she said quietly. To the governor's residence. He chuckled, head shaking. Sure, you are. The words were venom in disguise, casual, automatic, demeaning. The crowd of onlookers grew. Phones hovered like insects. Double quotes. Sir, she said, each syllable crisp. You're making a mistake, am I? He snapped the cuffs from his belt. The metal clinked, sharp as thunder. Turn around. She didn't move. Her pulse hammered against her ribs. I'm warning you, he barked. A distant siren howled, not his, her security detail, delayed by a detour. Turn around. When the cuffs closed around her wrists, the cold bit deeper than metal. It was history pressing down, old, relentless. He pushed her toward the car hood. The crowd gasped. Search your vehicle, he called to another officer emerging from the cruiser. On what grounds? She asked, voice trembling but intact. He smirked again. You look nervous. That's enough grounds. A voice broke through the chaos. Hey, that's Governor Ellison. The officer froze. The echo rippled through the crowd, disbelief muttering into silence. Maya lifted her head, cuffs gleaming under the lights. The younger officer stepped back. Sir, she's the governor. The older one's jaw tightened. He stared at her, then at the camera's realization bleeding into fear. For one suspended moment, no one moved. Only the red and blue lights flickered across her face, reflecting the exact color of shame. Then the radio crackled. Unit 12, stand down immediately. Repeat, stand down. But the cuffs stayed on. and the cameras kept rolling. By morning, the world had already chosen sides. The video opened on flashing lights, a trembling camera, the sharp metallic click of handcuffs. It ended on the line everyone would quote for weeks. "You look nervous. That's enough grounds." It played on loop: breakfast shows, political panels, even late-night comedy. A single moment of humiliation stripped of context, replayed until it lost oxygen. Governor Maya Ellison sat alone in her office, the blinds half closed, the city below flickering with camera flashes and protest chants. "Governor," her chief of staff, Lillian Cruz, said, stepping in with a tablet trembling in her hand. "It's everywhere. CNN, BBC, TikTok, even the tabloids. You need to address it now." Maya's eyes didn't move from the muted television. The officer's face filled the screen, laughing in disbelief as she said she was the governor. The caption read, "Mistaken identity or racial profiling. Has he been suspended?" Maya asked quietly. "Administrative leave," Lillian replied. "Full pay. They're calling it protocol review." Maya's jaw tightened. Protocol, always protocol. They want a press statement within the hour. The AG's office is drafting one. "No." Lillian blinked. "Governor, I'll write it myself." Silence. Outside, the chants swelled. No justice, no peace. A sound like thunder rolling through marble halls. The door burst open again. Deputy Press Secretary Malik Harris, phone in hand, eyes wild. "Governor, TMZ's saying you played the race card. They're quoting some senator calling this a publicity stunt." Maya exhaled slowly, keeping her voice level. "Of course they are." Malik looked stricken. "Should I issue a rebuttal?" "No." She stood. "Let them talk. The truth doesn't need to shout." Lillian frowned. "With respect, Governor, that's not how this works. We're losing control of the narrative." Maya turned, gaze steady. "Maybe the narrative needs to lose control." She walked toward the window. Down below, a sea of people filled the streets, signs raised, phones out, voices shaking the air, her own face on cardboard placards. "Even the governor isn't safe." The sight struck something deep, not pride, grief. Lillian's phone buzzed again. The officer's statement just dropped. Maya turned, read it. Lillian hesitated. Then, "He claims he feared for his safety, that you were agitated, that your tone was non-compliant. He says race had nothing to do with it." Maya's lips parted, but no words came. "The absurdity had gone beyond language," Malik whispered. "They're painting you as the threat. They always do." Maya said quietly. The phone on her desk rang. Her mother's number. She didn't answer. Not yet. Instead, she walked to the mirror across the room. The faint red mark from the handcuffs was still visible on her wrist. She traced it, not as a wound, but as evidence. "Governor," Lillian said softly, "what do we tell the public?" Maya's eyes lifted to the mirror, meeting her own reflection. "Tell them I'm fine," she said. "Tell them I'm focused on governing." "That's not enough," Lillian pressed. "They want anger. They want tears. Something human." Maya turned sharply. "They want a spectacle. I'm not giving them one." Silence flooded the room. The only sound was the hum of the television, where a commentator declared, "If she can't handle being stopped, how can she handle the state?" Malik muttered, "Unbelievable." Maya said nothing. Instead, she walked to her desk, sat down, and began typing her statement. Every keystroke, deliberate, cold, measured the sound of a woman reclaiming control. After several minutes, she looked up. "Schedule the press conference for tomorrow morning." Lillian hesitated. "Are you sure?" "Yes." "What should we title it?" Maya paused, eyes burning with calm fury. "When Power Meets Prejudice." Lillian swallowed hard, nodded, and left. Maya leaned back, closing her eyes. The chants outside rose louder, an anthem built on pain she knew too well. For a moment, she wished she could be anonymous again, just another woman driving home at night. But the world had made its choice, and now, she would make hers. The cameras blinked like a constellation of unblinking eyes. Rows of reporters filled the state capitol briefing room, lenses trained on the podium, microphones jutting forward like spears. The air buzzed with anticipation and the faint static of live feeds. Governor Maya Ellison stood behind the curtain, her reflection faint in the glass door. She had spoken here 100 times before. Budget hearings, education bills, crisis updates. But today, the silence before her entrance felt different. This silence had judgment in it. Lillian stood beside her, tablet in hand. "They're live in 60 seconds, she whispered. "Fox, CNN, AP, all of them. No teleprompter, just you." Maya nodded. "Good." You don't have to do this, Lillian said quietly. You could issue the statement on paper and walk away. Let the legal process know. Maya's voice was low but resolute. This isn't a legal problem. It's a moral one. A staffer gestured from the stage. We're ready, Governor. Pace. She stepped into the lights. The crowd erupted. Flashes, shouts, a dozen questions hurled at once. Governor, are you pressing charges? Do you believe this was racial profiling? Did the officer know who you were? She raised a hand. The room quieted, not out of respect, but out of curiosity. Maya spoke slowly, each word deliberate. 2 nights ago, I was stopped on my way home. I was detained, handcuffed, and humiliated by an officer who assumed that a black woman driving a late model car must be a criminal. A murmur rippled through the room. Pens scratched, cameras zoomed in. I am not here to seek revenge, she continued. I am here to expose a truth. This isn't about one officer. This is about the culture that trained him to see threat where there was none. A voice from the crowd called out, Governor, what would you say to those who claim this was just a misunderstanding? She looked directly at the reporter, a man with silver hair and a smirk of false neutrality. I would say, she replied, that misunderstanding ends when someone listens. And too many of us have stopped listening. She paused, letting the silence breathe. The room felt taut, the tension almost physical. Some have said I should be grateful I wasn't hurt. Imagine living in a society where survival is considered gratitude. The quote would headline every paper by nightfall. Lillian, watching from the side, felt a chill. Another voice shouted, Governor, what do you expect to happen to the officer involved? Maya's gaze hardened. I expect accountability. I expect transparency. I expect the system to prove that justice is more than a slogan. Reporters exchanged glances, sensing a line worth spinning. Governor, someone else called. You've built a reputation for calm leadership, but people want anger. They want you to be furious. Are you? Her jaw tightened. The microphone caught her breath before the words. I am beyond anger, she said softly. Anger burns fast. What I feel doesn't fade that easily. The room went still. She stepped closer to the podium, lowering her voice, forcing them to lean in. I've been asked how this could happen to someone in my position. The answer is simple. Position doesn't change perception. My title didn't protect me from his assumption. My power didn't shield me from his prejudice. She scanned the room, faces flickering between discomfort and awe. And that, she said, is exactly why this conversation must not end when the cameras turn off. A low murmur followed, the sound of history quietly shifting. She stepped back, ready to leave, but a final voice pierced the hum. Governor Ellison, are you afraid this incident will damage your political career? She stopped. The cameras leaned forward as if smelling blood. Then she turned, expression unreadable. If telling the truth ends my career, she said, then it was never worth having. Flashbulbs erupted. She walked off stage, the echoes of her words still hanging like smoke. Back in the corridor, Lillian caught up with her. You just declared war, she said under her breath. Maya didn't slow. No, I declared honesty. They'll twist it, Lillian warned. They'll call it race-baiting political theater. They can call it whatever helps them sleep, Maya said. I'm done managing their comfort. She reached her office and closed the door. The noise outside vanished, replaced by the low hum of silence. Her phone buzzed, an unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. Governor Ellison, the voice was low, cautious. This is Detective Harris. Internal Affairs. You don't know me, but you need to see something. The dashcam footage. Her spine straightened. Go on. It's worse than the public clip. He used language we edited out before the release. Slurs, threats, orders that violate protocol. Maya's pulse quickened. Why are you telling me this? Because they're trying to bury it. The department's sealing it under ongoing review. If you want it to see daylight, you'll have to act fast. The line went dead. Maya lowered the phone, eyes burning with something colder than rage, certainty. Outside her window, the crowd still roared, voices echoing against the marble. She whispered to herself, almost as if testing the words for strength, then daylight, it is. The corridors of the state police headquarters were sterile, beige walls, buzzing fluorescents, the smell of disinfectant and paper. It was the kind of place that made injustice look organized. Governor Maya Ellison's heels echoed as she entered. Her security detail remained outside. This meeting, she had insisted, would be private. The receptionist looked up, startled. Governor, I didn't realize I have an appointment, Maya said evenly, with Commissioner Dalton. He nodded quickly, fumbling with his headset. Yes, ma'am, right this way. The commissioner's office sat at the end of the hall, framed commendations, flag in the corner, a photo of him shaking hands with senators he pretended not to know. When she entered, he rose halfway, then sank back into his chair. Governor Ellison, he said, forced smile in place. Quite the surprise. How can I assist you? You can start, Maya said, taking the seat opposite him, by explaining why the dashcam footage from my arrest is sealed under departmental review. Dalton's smile twitched. Those investigations take time. We can't release unredacted footage until it's been fully assessed. Assessed by whom? Internal Affairs. Standard procedure. She leaned forward. Standard procedure seems remarkably convenient when it protects your officers. He raised his palms, tone rehearsed. Governor, I assure you, we're following the law. It's not about protection, it's about process. Maya's voice cooled. Process didn't stop that man from putting me in cuffs. Now you're hiding the evidence that shows why. He hesitated, the mask slipping for half a second. Governor, between us, this department is under tremendous pressure. Releasing that video could ignite the state. We have to think of public order. Public order, she repeated softly. Not public truth. He exhaled. You have to understand, people respect you. If you escalate this, it'll divide communities. Sometimes restraint serves justice better than exposure. She stared at him, the polished rhetoric of systemic evasion laid bare. Commissioner, I've spent my entire career listening to men explain why justice must wait. It never arrives any faster. He leaned back, hands steepled. Governor, are you accusing me of? I'm not accusing, she cut in. I'm observing. The tension thickened. The hum of the fluorescent light above them felt deafening. Finally, he said, look, off the record, the footage isn't flattering. The officer used language that shouldn't have been used. But he's under stress, long shifts, political scrutiny. Stress doesn't invent hate, she said. Dalton looked away. We can discipline him internally, quietly. Spare everyone the spectacle. Maya stood. I'm done with quiet discipline. She turned toward the door. He called after her. Governor, once that footage is out, you can't control what comes next. She paused, hand on the doorknob. That's the point. Back in the car, Lillian waited in the passenger seat, phone to her ear. The AG's office just called. They want you to back off. They say this is turning political. Maya slid into the back seat. It already was political, the second he pulled me over. Governor, Lillian said carefully, if you release that tape yourself, you could trigger a constitutional crisis. Then, maybe it's time we have one. Later that night, the whistleblower called again. Harris's voice was low, tight. Governor, I moved the dashcam file. It's safe for now, but Internal Affairs is sniffing around. They'll destroy it if they find it. Send me a copy, Maya said. I can't. It'll trace back to me. A pause. Then bring it to me, she said, in person. Harris hesitated. Governor, this could end my career. Mine's already burning, she said quietly. Let's make it mean something. By midnight, she sat in her study, alone. The footage paused on her laptop screen. The image froze on the officer's face, sneering, lit by the police cruiser's glare. Then she pressed play. The audio spilled out, unfiltered, venomous, words that wouldn't make it into press reports, slurs, mockery, laughter. She listened to the full 10 minutes, not flinching, not moving. When it ended, she rewound it, watched again, this time not as a victim but as evidence. When she finally spoke, it was to herself. They think restraint is silence. She opened her phone, typed a message to Lillian. Tomorrow, leak it. She stared at the screen for a moment, then hit send. Outside, the first drops of rain began to fall against the window. Soft, relentless, cleansing. The video dropped at 7:42 a.m. No press release. No official statement, just a 10-minute clip uploaded anonymously to 3 platforms at once. Within 10 minutes, it had 500,000 views. Within an hour, it was global. Governor Maya Ellison was still dressing for a cabinet briefing when her phone exploded with calls, alerts, and frantic messages. Lillian burst into the room, tablet in hand, face pale. It's out, she said. The dashcam. Maya froze halfway through buttoning her jacket. Already, Lillian nodded. Every news channel, Twitter, YouTube, Reddit, it's everywhere. They're calling it the truth tape. The television flicked on automatically, motion sensors reading the room. The footage rolled, shaky dashboard-lit faces. The officer's voice clear this time, no redactions. What's your kind doing driving through here? You think being smart makes you safe. The sound made Lillian flinch. Maya just stood still, absorbing it. Another line followed, cutting through static. Don't look at me like that. I could ruin your life before sunrise. Then, the slap of handcuffs. Her muffled reply. You already are. The clip ended. Silence filled the room. Governor Lillian said quietly, the department's in chaos. The commissioner's called an emergency presser. He's saying the video's manipulated. Maya's phone buzzed. Malik, the deputy press secretary. His voice on speaker trembled. Governor, the State House lawn's filling up. Protesters, press, supporters, everyone. Half the legislature's demanding a criminal indictment. The other half's calling it a digital witch hunt. Let them, Maya said. Governor Malik said, you realize what this means. This is war. No, Maya replied. This is truth. Truth is never war. Just inconvenient. By noon, the footage had ignited a national firestorm. News anchors debated its authenticity. Politicians tweeted prepackaged outrage. And the officer, now identified as Sergeant Clay Rutledge, held his own press conference, flanked by union representatives. I was following procedure, he said, face stiff, voice rehearsed. The footage was selectively edited. I didn't know who she was. I acted on instinct. The room of reporters erupted in shouts. Instinct or bias? Do you regret your words? He glared at the cameras. You people twist everything. I'm not the villain here. Maya watched from her office. The sound low. The broadcast showed his face. Jaw clenched. Eyes defiant. He's cornered. Lillian murmured. He's comfortable, Maya corrected. He thinks the system will catch him. Hours later, the governor's communications team convened. Screens filled with live maps of protests. Seattle, Atlanta, Chicago, even London. The nation had split itself open again, Doc Malik said. Governor, we need to issue a response immediately. You have the moral ground. Use it. Maya shook her head. Not yet. Why? Because they're expecting outrage. I'm going to give them something harder to dismiss. Facts. That evening, Maya appeared live from her office. No podium, no entourage. Just her, framed against the state flag and a single desk lamp. 2 days ago, I was asked why I didn't release this footage. She began. The answer is simple. I believed the system would do the right thing. It didn't. Her voice was low, steady, unembellished. What you've all seen today isn't shocking because it's rare. It's shocking because it's normal and caught on tape. She leaned closer to the microphone. I have been governor for 3 years. I have read reports of people brutalized, profiled, dismissed, and I told myself I could change it from within. I see now that the rot doesn't fear policy. It fears exposure. She paused. The silence afterward felt like held breath across millions of living rooms. So here is my promise. The officer who stopped me will face full accountability, and so will the institution that trained him. The feed cut there intentionally. No applause, no altar music, just truth, clean and final. By midnight, the Justice Department announced a joint civil rights investigation. Commentators called it a reckoning. Others called it overreach. The noise was endless. Maya sat by her window, watching lightning bloom over the skyline. Her phone buzzed again. A message from Harris, the whistleblower. They're coming after me. Internal Affairs knows I leaked it. Maya typed back instantly. You won't stand alone. Then another message arrived. Anonymous, untraceable. Governor Ellison, this isn't over. He has friends. Maya stared at the screen until the message faded to black. She whispered to the empty room. Good, so do I. Outside, thunder rolled heavy, deliberate, almost approving. 3 days after the leak, the state was a furnace. News choppers circled above the Capitol. Streets bloomed with protest signs, sirens, chants, drones, streaming live feeds. Every window reflected blue and red lights that never seemed to fade. Governor Maya Ellison hadn't slept in 36 hours. Her staff hadn't either. The operations floor looked like a command post. Phones ringing, aides shouting updates, analysts running live polls. Governor, federal investigators just landed, Malik reported. They're demanding a full transcript of the internal review. Give it to them, Maya said. They're also asking if you personally ordered the leak. Maya didn't look up from her screen. Tell them I ordered transparency. They can translate that however they want. Lillian handed her another tablet. Online sentiments split, half calling you a hero, half saying you staged the whole thing for power. Both halves are useful, Maya murmured. They keep each other busy. Meanwhile, in a cheap motel on the city's outskirts, Harris, the IT officer who leaked the footage, sat alone, blinds drawn, laptop glowing. He scrolled through forums discussing the truth tape, reading theories, death threats, and praise under fake usernames. He hadn't used his real phone since the night he sent Maya that message. A knock rattled the door. He froze. Housekeeping. He didn't move. The knock came again, louder, then silence. He waited 5 minutes before approaching. When he opened the door, a crack, a folded note slipped under it. "You're not safe here. Switch locations. They're triangulating your signal." No signature, just a symbol, a small, painted circle with 3 intersecting lines. He'd seen it before. The logo of Integrity Shield. An underground alliance of whistleblowers. Harris burned the note in the sink and began packing. Back at the Capitol. The Attorney General arrived unannounced. He entered Maya's office without waiting for clearance. 2 aides trailing behind. "Governor Ellison," he said, voice stiff, "we need to talk about your friend Harris." Maya folded her hands. "He's an employee. He's a felon. Unauthorized data release, obstruction, breach of confidentiality. You're aware that helping him makes you complicit." Maya didn't flinch. "I'm aware that justice requires people brave enough to disobey." The Attorney General sighed. "You think the system bends to willpower. It bends to leverage. And you've just burned yours." He left without shaking her hand. Lillian waited until the door closed. "They'll come for him, won't they?" "Yes," Maya said. "And for me next." By late afternoon, the first riot broke out downtown. Police lines clashed with protesters. Tear gas plumes drifted past the courthouse. News anchors narrated chaos in split screens. On one side, burning cars. On the other, lawmakers arguing live about stability. Malik burst into the strategy room. "Governor, we need to call in the guard." "No," Maya said. "That's what they want. Footage of me sending troops against citizens. Then what do? We outlast the noise. The truth doesn't need volume, just endurance." "Governor," Lillian warned, "they're not just shouting anymore. They're shooting." That night, the governor's mansion went dark. Power outage, at least officially. In reality, Maya had ordered it. She wanted the cameras off, the listening devices blind. In the candlelight, she met privately with 2 visitors, both from Integrity Shield. They wore plain clothes, spoke in compressed bursts, and refused to share real names. One placed a flash drive on the table. Everything: internal logs, training protocols, suppression memos, proof the department doctored evidence in over 40 cases. Maya's jaw tightened. "Where did you get this?" "Same server, Harris accessed." He only scratched the surface. "Why bring it to me?" "Because you're the only one with reach and risk tolerance." She stared at the flash drive. It looked small enough to lose in a pocket, yet heavy enough to crush a career. "What happens if I release it?" she asked. The agent smiled grimly. "Then you'll prove your own system guilty." "You ready for that?" Maya closed her fingers around the drive. "I stopped being ready. Now I'm inevitable." 2 hours later, a fire erupted at the same motel Harris had just vacated. The building collapsed before dawn. News headlines called it an accidental gas leak. No bodies recovered. Maya knew better. She watched the live footage in silence, eyes motionless. Lillian whispered, "Governor, was he inside?" Maya didn't answer. Malik entered moments later, pale, holding a fresh report. "Feds are issuing a subpoena for your communications. They think you coordinated the leak personally." Maya stood up. "Let them come." Her voice carried no fear, only exhaustion sharpened into resolve. By sunrise, the state's main server was offline. Someone, unknown, untraceable, had uploaded hundreds of internal memos to encrypted networks, all stamped with the seal of the governor's office. The internet had declared war on the state itself. On every channel, anchors said the same phrase: "The system is breaking." And in the governor's office, Maya finally looked up from her laptop and said quietly, "No, it's just being seen." The morning sun bled through smoke streaked glass as the Capitol sirens wailed in the distance, not warning of danger, but confirming it had already arrived. The State Assembly chamber had never been this full, every seat taken, cameras stacked shoulder high, cables snaking across the marble floor. Outside, thousands pressed against barricades chanting the same word: accountability. Governor Maya Ellison stood behind the witness table, a single microphone in front of her, the seal of the state behind. Her suit was dark, unadorned, her hands still, only her eyes moved, Scanning the panel of lawmakers, waiting to dissect her. At the center sat Senator Rawlings, silver hair, practiced smile, the man who once toasted her inauguration. Now, he was leading the investigation. Governor Ellison, he began smoothly. You've been accused of unlawfully releasing confidential police data and obstructing a federal inquiry. Do you deny these charges? Maya leaned into the mic. I released evidence of crimes, Senator, crimes committed under your oversight. A low murmur swept the chamber. Cameras zoomed in. Rawlings smirked. You seem to think moral conviction excuses legal boundaries. I think legal boundaries were written to contain moral conviction, Maya said, and that's the problem. He shuffled his notes. Governor, several officers involved have filed defamation suits, claiming your leak put them in danger. The footage put truth in danger, Maya countered. They chose their own exposure. Gasps. Someone clapped before being hushed. From the public gallery, Malik and Lillian watched tensely. Lillian whispered, "She's baiting them. She's cornered." Malik replied, "Cornered people stop calculating." On the opposite bench, the Attorney General tapped his pen, expression unreadable. The networks carried every word live, across the nation. Screens flickered between close-ups of Maya and reaction shots of lawmakers tightening jaws. Rawlings raised his voice. "Governor, the people didn't elect you to stage a circus." "No," Maya said calmly. "They elected me to serve justice, but I walked into a tent already on fire." He snapped. "You've destabilized the state, endangered lives, destroyed trust." Maya's voice stayed level. "Trust built on silence is not stability, it's complicity." The crowd erupted again. Reporters typed furiously, fingers clattering like rain. Then came the surprise witness. An officer entered, uniform pressed, face strained, and sat across from her. The screen behind him lit with his name, Officer Daniel Kearns, the same man who'd dragged Maya out of her car that day. Rawlings smiled faintly. "Governor, do you recognize this individual?" "I do," she said. "Officer Kearns claims you resisted arrest and used your position to threaten him. He'll testify that your behavior provoked escalation." The officer adjusted the mic. His voice trembled slightly. "She told me she was the governor. I didn't believe her. I thought she was lying to avoid a ticket." Rawlings nodded. "And when you realized she wasn't?" The officer hesitated. "By then, cameras were on. I had to stay in control." Maya's eyes narrowed. "You mean you had to look in control?" Kearns swallowed. "Ma'am, I was following protocol." "Whose protocol?" Silence. Rawlings tried to interject, but Maya leaned forward. "Officer, did your body cam footage show me resisting arrest?" He blinked. "No." "Did it show me threatening you?" "No." "Then why was that section missing from the public release?" Kearns looked to Rawlings. "I was ordered to redact." "By whom?" His throat worked. "Internal Affairs." Murmurs rose again. Maya's tone hardened. "And Internal Affairs reports to whom?" Kearns' gaze fell. "The Attorney General." All heads turned toward the Attorney General, who didn't move. Rawlings slammed the gavel. "Order, Governor Ellison. You will not turn this into an inquisition." Maya's voice cut through the noise. "This is an inquisition. The difference is, it's finally pointed the right way." Lillian's hand covered her mouth. Malik whispered. She just detonated the room. By the afternoon recess, social media had exploded. Hashtag Governor Trial trended worldwide. Livestream views broke records. Protesters outside projected the leaked footage on government walls. Inside, chaos reigned. Lawmakers huddled. Stafford scrambled. Even security radios crackled nervously. When the hearing resumed, Rawlings' tone had changed. Colder, clipped. "Governor Ellison, regardless of your moral arguments, the law is the law. You have broken it." Maya nodded. "Then I'll take the sentence that truth deserves." He frowned. "And what would that be?" "Transparency," she said simply. She reached into her folder and slid a document across the table. "Here's every directive, every memo, every redaction order from your office, Senator, including the payment records for suppressing internal complaints." Rawlings froze. Cameras caught it. The gallery erupted. Maya continued, voice steady. "If exposure is a crime, then let's all serve the same term." The gavel struck. Chaos swelling. Reporters surged forward. The Attorney General stood, shouting for a security intervened. Through the pandemonium, Maya sat still, almost serene, as if finally watching the mask of the system peel away. In that moment, the live feed captured Rawlings' expression cracking, a fraction of panic beneath authority. That image spread faster than any statement. Outside, thunder rolled. Rain began to fall on the crowds. Protesters lifted signs high as the first drops hit. Malik whispered to Lillian, "It's over, isn't it?" Lillian shook her head. "No, it's starting." Inside, Maya rose from her seat, her final words echoing through the chamber. "You can't silence what's already seen." The session dissolved into noise, shouting, flashes, sirens, but her words lingered, carried out through every open mic and camera feed, burning into the evening broadcast. The Capitol was silent at dawn. News vans lined the street like abandoned shells. Reporters slept in chairs, cameras idle, waiting for the next collapse. Inside, Governor Maya Ellison sat alone in her office, her final hours as governor ticking away. The impeachment vote was scheduled for noon. She didn't bother reading the briefings. They were already obsolete. The walls seemed to hum faintly with the weight of everything that had been said within them. The same room where policy once lived now smelled of coffee, printer ink, and inevitability. Malik entered quietly. "They're preparing the floor. You'll have 10 minutes to speak. 10 minutes to bury or resurrect the state," she murmured. "Efficient." He hesitated. "You could still negotiate. Step down voluntarily. Save your record." Maya looked up at him, tired, not angry. "If I step down quietly, they'll erase what happened. I didn't come this far to make it easy for them to forget." He nodded, eyes lowering. "Then, I'll be outside when it's done. Stay close," she said softly. By mid-morning, the assembly hall filled again. This time, there were no chants, no applause, just tension coiled so tightly it warped the air. Senator Rawlings stood at the podium, composure restored, tone polished like nothing had cracked. "Today we address a grave breach of public trust, a governor who believed herself above the law. We will restore order." Maya entered midst. Cameras pivoted. She didn't take the governor's chair. She stood in the center aisle instead, level with everyone, not above. "Order," she said quietly, voice carrying, "anyway. You call it order when silence protects power. You call it chaos when truth speaks back." Rawlings tightened his grip on the podium. "You've already had your spectacle, Governor. The people demand closure." "No," she said. "You demand comfort. The people demand consequence." Gasps rippled through the room. She pulled a sheet of paper from her pocket, a resignation letter. "You want my seat. You can have it, but you'll have to sit in the truth I leave behind." She placed the letter on the podium, then looked directly into the nearest camera lens. "To every citizen watching, you saw what they did to me when I told the truth. Imagine what they'd do to you when no one's filming." For a heartbeat, the chamber froze. Rawlings whispered something to an aide. Face pale. Outside, the first drops of rain began again. Crowds waited under umbrellas, watching the live feed on giant screens. The vote began. Names were called, voices echoing one by one. Overwhelming majority. Maya closed her eyes as her title dissolved in real time. When it was over, Rawlings announced, "The motion carries. Governor Ellison is hereby removed from office." The gavel struck. But before he could continue, a staffer sprinted into the chamber and whispered something in his ear. His face went white. He looked toward the media section, where journalists' phones buzzed simultaneously, alerts lighting up the room like a storm. On every screen, leaked documents, payment trails, redacted memos, evidence of corruption in the Senate, Internal Affairs, and the Attorney General's office. Everything from the flash drive integrity shield had given Maya. Headlines spread faster than the echo of the gavel. Rawlings under federal investigation, state officials linked to cover up. The room descended into chaos. Rawlings shouted for order, but no one listened. Senators yelled across aisles. Reporters bolted for the doors. Cameras caught every second. Through the noise, Maya walked calmly toward the exit, unescorted, head high. Lillian met her at the doorway, eyes wet. "You released it." "I didn't have to," Maya said. "Integrity Shield did." "They'll say, you planned this all along." "Let them." Malik appeared beside them, breathless. The FBI just arrived for Rawlings. Maya didn't look back. Then justice finally found its GPS. By evening, Rawlings was under investigation. The Attorney General had resigned, and the Capitol was locked down under federal order. Maya drove herself home. Unmarked car, windows down. The rain had stopped at a red light. She saw a young black girl on the sidewalk holding a cardboard sign. It read, "We saw you, thank you." Maya didn't wave. She just nodded once, quietly. The light turned green. As she drove past the courthouse, she caught her own reflection in the glass, not as a governor, not as a fallen official, but as a woman stripped to truth. And for the first time since the arrest, she let herself breathe. In a downtown newsroom, a reporter replayed the original dashcam video one last time, the one that started everything. The image froze on the moment Kearns yelled, "Get out of the car." The reporter added the caption for tomorrow's front page. She got out, and she never went back. 2 weeks later, the Capitol steps looked different. The marble was still cracked from protests, but flowers covered the stairs now. Paper signs, candles, folded notes. Maya Ellison hadn't returned since her removal, yet her presence lingered, woven into chants that became songs, into murals on courthouse walls, her face half shadow, half light, captioned, "Truth Costs." The federal investigation had detonated the state's hierarchy. Senator Rawlings was indicted on obstruction and bribery. The Attorney General faced charges for evidence tampering. Dozens of offices were suspended pending review. But none of it felt like victory. Maya sat on a park bench overlooking the city. A newspaper folded beside her. She wore no suit now, just a plain coat, hair tied back. Malik approached quietly, coffee in hand. "They're calling it the Ellison effect," he said. "Cities reviewing arrest procedures, training reforms, mandatory bias audits. You changed policy, Maya." She didn't look up. "Policy isn't justice. It's paperwork that forgets to, easily." He handed her the coffee anyway. "People are scared of what you made visible. That's power. Power got people killed," she said softly. He sat beside her, silent for a long moment. Harris would have been proud. Her grip tightened on the cup. "He died for evidence, and they called it an accident." Malik looked out toward the skyline. "Accidents don't burn that clean." Across town, in a quiet suburban courtroom, Officer Kearns stood before a judge. Cameras were banned, but word spread fast. He had pled guilty to falsifying a report. The judge's gavel came down. 6-month suspended sentence. Community service. Outside the courthouse, protesters jeered, chanting Harris's name. Kearns lowered his head, escorted by deputies. In her apartment, Maya watched the verdict on a muted TV. No reaction, just the faint reflection of flames from candles flickering on the table. Lillian called, "You seeing this?" "Yes, it's not enough. It's what the system allows," Maya said. "That's the point." Lillian paused. "You sound done." "I'm not done," Maya said. "Just finished being polite." That evening, Maya was invited to speak on a national broadcast, her first public appearance since the impeachment. The host introduced her as the most controversial woman in America. The lights were bright, unkind. She sat straight, face bare of makeup, voice measured. "Governor Ellison," the host began, "do you regret leaking the footage?" "No. Even after losing your position, I lost a title," Maya said. "They lost the illusion." He leaned in. "You've become a symbol. Some call you a martyr, others a criminal. Which one are you?" She looked into the camera. "Neither. I'm a mirror, and people hate what they see." The control room fell silent. The segment cut to commercial 5 seconds early. The next morning, Maya woke to a message on her phone. No name, just a file attachment. She opened it. Footage. Footage. It showed a hidden angle of the original traffic stop. A bystander's phone video. Audio clearer this time. Officer Kearns' words, sharp, unmistakable. "You think being governor changes what I see when I look at you?" The clip ended abruptly. Maya stared at the blank screen. Her pulse slowed, not quickened. This was the missing piece, the unedited truth. She uploaded it to the cloud. No caption, no statement, just the raw file. Within hours, it exploded online again. Millions of views, headlines, debates, think pieces. The sentence echoed through the country like a ghost finally finding its echo chamber. That line, hateful, naked, undeniable, dismantled every justification left. Days later, Kearns resigned from public service, citing emotional distress. Rawlings was officially removed from office. The Attorney General disappeared from media. But Maya, she stayed quiet. She began teaching part-time at a community law center under her birth name, Maya Brooks, helping people contest wrongful arrests. Students didn't recognize her at first. Some did, eventually. She never confirmed. Once, a young woman asked her, "Do you ever miss being governor?" Maya smiled faintly. "I never stopped being one. Titles end. Work doesn't." On the anniversary of the arrest, Malik found her at the same intersection where it all began. The street lights flickered. Traffic passed without noticing. He handed her a single white lily. "They cleared your name officially today." She placed the flower on the curb. where she'd once stood in handcuffs. Names don't matter. Narratives do. He looked at her. And what's yours now? She watched the road, a warning. Later that night, news broke of a federal initiative named after her, the Ellison Act, mandating independent oversight of police misconduct investigations. The screen showed her old photo again, face calm, eyes unyielding. Maya turned off the TV, stood by the window, and whispered to no one in particular, "Poetic justice isn't revenge, it's clarity." Outside, rain began to fall, soft this time, cleansing the city that had once watched her break. She closed the curtains, and the light behind her stayed on. Morning sunlight spilled across the city like a quiet apology. The storm that had defined a year of reckoning was finally breaking. For the first time in months, the Capitol lawn was empty. No protests, no cameras, just stillness. Maya Ellison, now Maya Brooks, to most walked through the small courtyard of the Community Law Center, carrying a box of donated textbooks. Her steps were slow but steady, her posture lighter than it had been in years. Inside, students waited in folding chairs, notebooks open. The walls were lined with posters about civil rights, community defense, and accountability audits. "Before we begin," Maya said, setting down the box, "I want you all to understand something. Justice isn't a system, it's a muscle. If you don't use it, someone stronger will." A few students nodded. One asked softly, "Did it ever get easier?" She smiled faintly. "No, but it got clearer." Across town, the sentencing hearings for Senator Rawlings were underway. Cameras returned to the courthouse that had once shielded him. Now it framed his downfall. On every broadcast, anchors repeated the words abuse of office, fraud, and public trust violation. Viewers noted the irony. The man who'd accused the governor of chaos was now convicted of creating it. Lillian texted Maya during lunch break. "It's official. Rawlings guilty on all counts. 6 years." Maya replied with a single word, "Inevitable." Later that day, Malik joined her on the center's roof, overlooking the skyline. The air smelled like rain had finally left for good. "You ever think about going back?" he asked. "To politics," she said, half laughing. "They'd never let me." "They might have to," he said. "Your name's turning into a movement again. They're calling it the Ellison Doctrine. State papers quoting your speeches." "I didn't write doctrine," she said. "I wrote warnings." Malik looked at her, serious. "You taught people how to see." She didn't respond, only watched a flock of birds shift direction above the river fluid. Wordless unity. That evening, she visited Harris's memorial, a small bronze plaque on the edge of a public park. "To those who leaked truth when silence was law." She placed a folded note beneath it. No flowers, no speech. A child on a bike passed by and read the plaque aloud, asking his mother, "What does that mean?" The mother smiled gently. "It means sometimes the brave ones aren't the loudest." Maya turned away before they saw her smile. News that week announced the national ratification of the Ellison Act. Governors across the country stood before microphones pledging reform. The president signed it on live TV. The reporter's voice echoed over the radio in Maya's office. A year after her controversial impeachment, former Governor Maya Ellison's stand against systemic bias has reshaped accountability laws nationwide. Maya turned down the volume. She wasn't interested in her own headlines anymore. Instead, she looked over a new intake form. Another client, another case of unlawful profiling. Same structure, new names. The work never ended, and that was the point. As twilight fell, Lillian stopped by with dinner. "You know, there's talk of a documentary," she said. "They want to call it The Governor Who Wouldn't Bow." "Let them make it," Maya said. "But make sure they show Harris too. None of this happened without him. They will." They ate quietly, the hum of the city soft below. After a while, Lillian asked, "Do you ever miss the old office?" Maya looked out the window at the skyline. The view, maybe, not the walls. A week later, the city hosted a unity parade, first of its kind. Maya didn't attend officially, but she watched from a distance as people of every color and background walked together, holding signs that read, "Justice isn't political. We see you. Truth won't go quiet." Children carried banners painted with her quote, "You can't silence what's already seen." The chants weren't angry anymore. They were rhythmic, hopeful, almost gentle, for once. The police marched beside the crowd. As dusk approached, Maya walked along the riverfront, the skyline glowing orange. Malik joined her, hands in pockets. "They're calling for you to run for Senate," he said. She smiled slightly. I'm already running, just not for office. You'd win. I already did, she said quietly, just not the way they measure it. They reached the bridge, the same spot where she had once given her resignation speech. She stopped, looking out over the water, its surface calm, clean. You think people really change? Malik asked. Maya watched the current. No, but they learned to remember, and that's close enough. He nodded, silent. She turned toward the horizon, where the last light bled gold over the rooftops. Clear skies ahead, she murmured. That for the first time in a long while, it didn't sound like hope. It sounded like truth as the camera of public memory panned wider over the city, over the courthouse, over the river. One voice remained beneath it all, the one that never stopped insisting the world could do better. And though history would write her as a governor, a whistleblower, a scandal, the truth was simpler. She was a woman who refused to stay in the car.